Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel and welcome to Apex Legends. Recently, due to a weapon balancing change made by Respawn, the early game meta has been thrown into disarray, and I'm going to explain this problem and how, of all games, Halo has a solution. So without further ado, let's get into this. So, as you may know, at the beginning of the season, the alternator was moved into the care package. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the care package alternator, and whilst it does give me Season 2 Vietnam flashbacks, I think it is an incredibly unique care package weapon, and definitely the most interesting one of the lot. But, with it now being a care package weapon, it has left a space in the weapon sandbox, which a certain other weapon has completely failed to fill. Now, for those who don't know what a weapon sandbox is, it's basically the way that all the different weapons fit in place to have unique roles. For instance, the Sentinel's role in the sandbox is to put out high damage per shot at extreme range. The role of the Rampage is to lay down suppressive fire at medium range. The role of the R99 is to provide extremely high damage per second at ultra close range. You get the idea. Weapon sandboxes vary a fair bit. Games like Halo CE have an incredibly focused weapon sandbox, with only a few weapons, but they all fit very specific roles, and no weapon overlaps into the realms of the other. Games like Battlefield 4 have a very broad weapon sandbox, with dozens of statistically near identical weapons to choose from each class. Most games, Apex included, find a balance between the two, with a good variety of weapons, but still with distinguishable roles in the sandbox. And one very important role in the sandbox is what I like to call the standard weapon. The standard weapon is the weapon that statistically sets the bar for all other weapons in the game. It must perform well, but not amazingly in all situations, and must be readily available for players to use and easy to use, but still challenging to use well. For instance, the M16 in COD 4 was a standard weapon, capable in all situations, readily available to all players from level 1, and relatively easy to use. Debatably, the M16 was too overpowered, but it still did well as a standard weapon. Perhaps the best standard weapon in any game is the DMR from Halo Reach. Say what you want about Halo Reach, about how it was rubbish compared to Halo 3, which it wasn't, and how the DMR was worse than the Halo CE Magnum and the Halo 2 battle rifle, which it absolutely was. But that was the point. In Halo CE and Halo 2, the standard weapon was made to be really quite overpowered. Yeah, the shotgun was better at close range and the sniper was better at long range, but the Magnum and BR was still really quite overpowered, and I think Bungie wanted to change that for Halo Reach, to make the standard weapon equal but not better than the other weapons in the sandbox, and to have it as a versatile weapon and that be its role. I think the DMR was balanced perfectly. It killed in 5 headshots, which was about perfect, capable at all ranges given to players by default at the beginning of each life, and easy to use but difficult to use well. And it allowed weapons like the assault rifle, which was the other standard weapon, to grow into something useful, where they were previously just seen as fairly useless, because they tried and failed to encroach on the territory of the standard weapon, like Halo's Magnum and BR and COD 4's M16. Apex's equivalent of the DMR was the alternator. It was incredibly common, found almost everywhere, good at close range, decent up to medium range, easy to control, relatively economic when it came to ammo consumption, and of course it was a light ammo weapon anyway, which made finding ammo a doddle. But the most important thing of all was that it could one-mag someone, and keep that in mind because we'll be returning to that point very soon. However, now the alternator is in the care package, it can no longer fulfill its duties as a standard weapon, a weapon that you can rely on off-drop to secure some kills early in the game. That role has been passed to, God help us, the RE45. Problems with the RE45 are numerous. It isn't good at conserving ammo, it isn't good beyond about 10 meters, it isn't versatile, and it definitely isn't easy to control. For those who have the fortune of not knowing the RE45's recoil pattern, it basically looks like Richard III's spine. But above all, the biggest issue with the RE45 is that it can't one-mag someone. When we in the Apex community talk about one-magging, we are talking about the ability to deal out 200 points of damage in one magazine, which is enough to kill a player with purple shields. This is the standard that every weapon must apply to, and every weapon in the game can one-mag someone, even the P2020. Every weapon except the RE45. And this is the issue I have with the current state of the meta. The standard weapon, the RE45, is substandard. It is objectively worse than every other weapon in the game, and this creates the issue. A standard weapon that you can't rely on is like using a colander to store water. The standard weapon sets the bar that all other weapons must apply to, and if the standard weapon is clearly inadequate, then there is nothing to compare the weapon sandbox to as a whole. The RE45 is a borderline acceptable weapon if you fully kit it out, but that defeats the point. Realistically, it is highly unlikely that you'll fully kit out a weapon with all purple attachments, and that's at the end of the game. Doing this at the beginning of the game is downright impossible. If I wanted to fully kit out a weapon, I'd do it to a devotion, because that is the devotion's role in the sandbox. It's a terrible gun without attachments, but if you fully kit it out, it's the best gun in the game. That's what the devotion is all about, and I love it for that. However, due to the RE45's specific inability to one-mag someone, and general inability to do anything right, it has become like the devotion, a weapon that is useless without attachments, but godly with them. And here's another problem. A fully upgraded RE45 isn't even godly. It isn't even good. It is objectively worse, in most ways, to most unupgraded weapons, let alone a fully kitted devotion or even a moderately upgraded R301 or similar. So, Respawn has three choices. Buff the RE45 so it can one-mag someone, bring the alternator out of the care package next season, or make an entirely new weapon that properly fills the role of the standard weapon for the sandbox. So, I'm going to ask you viewers a question. What would you do to fix this issue? I'll be sure to read all of your comments down below. Thank you everyone for watching the video. Remember to like, subscribe and comment. It costs you nothing and it's a great way to help out the channel. Stay safe and goodbye.